Initially, I met Samar and I just had questions, right? The only thing I knew about patents was you see it on Shark Tank and they always ask, do you have one? That was about it. And so visiting with Summer and the Outlier team, initially was just getting to know what that was, what the process was, what value it would have for the company. And then along the way, he's real upfront on here's your chances of success, here's what happens if you get it, here's what happens if you don't. And for us, having the first software patent in our industry was super valuable and super critical to what we continue to try to build. The patent process, it's not you go in and buy it a one day thing. It takes time. In our case, we filed our provisional, and then a year later we filed the full patent application. It was about a 2.5 year process. And as a founder trying to build something, it's in the back of your mind: is this ever going to happen? Did I just spend a bunch of money and it's not going to happen? And that's where the communication was just critical, especially being our first time trying and to navigate this whole patent world. It was helpful to know just everything that was going on, and I almost feel like Summer was able to tell us what was going to happen before it happened. So there weren't any surprises, even though it was our first time doing it. I think in working with Outlier, the most impressive thing for us was just the data and the facts we were able to get up front to really make a good educated decision. Right? Getting a patent is not an inexpensive thing, and having data before you spend limited resources is really critical in making sure you weigh the outcome, right? And so it was helpful to know what could happen on the positive side, but equally what could happen on the negative side, and really allow us to make the best decision for our company. Getting our first patent, it was actually the first patent in our industry, which is super cool. And now we're continuing to expand on that as we add different functions and different products to the original platform. But every time it's a discussion with Summer and the Outlier team to make sure there's actually value in the patents we're trying to get, and not just pieces of paper that are going to sit on the shelf, right? And ultimately, at some point, there will be an exit, and having the first and only software patent in an industry there's value to that. Working with Summer and just through the whole process, it's helpful when you're going through something you've never been through ever. Helpful to have someone that breaks it down on your level. And there's a lot of big words. Sometimes you talk to attorneys and, they big words and fancy suits, and that's cool for some companies, but for us, we're a startup, right? And with limited resources, we wanted to make sure we're using it in the right way, but also using it with people that are like us. And so watching his company go from 2 people to now a full-blown team, and it's for us, we've been on a startup journey together, and he thinks like a founder, and I think that just makes them and their team really geared to working with startups and founders.